All right, welcome to the Rabyd Atheist. I'm your host, Ed Rabyd, a former pastor turned atheist, now a compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to the live stream. I'm starting something new on Saturdays where I'm going to react to a video. And then hopefully that video will turn into more of a formal reaction the next week, where I'll put all the stuff. But in the past, when I did one reaction to a video live, there was a lot of good information that I didn't consider. And so that's kind of become the impetus of doing this kind of live stream on Saturday. Saturday, I have more time. So there's that aspect to it. I'm leaving the link to the StreamYard posted, but I'm doing that mostly because I hope maybe somebody can come in and watch the store for me while I need to take a break in the middle. But it's kind of where we're going. But today I saw this, the skeptic react to this guy in this video, probably a couple weeks ago, whenever it was released. But after I watched his reaction, I was like, boy, there's so much more that could be said in regard to this. So we'll see what happens there. But so we'll see how this goes. But I saw this first on the skeptic. I have watched this video once through, but it was about a week ago. So we'll see how good my memory is, and we'll see how it goes. But I'm looking at a crappy Catholic. That is his name. That is his channel name. I've left a link to the original video in the description. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get him up on the stage.
Hey, welcome back to the diary.
And we'll start to, I really hate that it automatically starts, but I'm going to get him going here and let him introduce, and we'll see what happens. But this is his 10 reasons why he ain't going to be no atheist. And I thought I'd see how well we can do with this. So let's see who's here first before we begin. Let's see. And we got Fred, Martin, Rimmer, Mr. Christian. Let's see. Paul's here. That's good. All right. Well, let's let the crappy Catholic introduce his video here and see what he has to say.
Hey, welcome back to the Diary of a Crappy Catholic. My name is Mark Kwasny, and it is a Friday, and I'm feeling a little mischievous today. And I had thought about a bunch of different topics I could talk about, and goodness knows there's millions upon kabillions of them to talk about. But something that kept coming up while I was doing this, and maybe it was an inspiration, it probably was an inspiration, was this whole topic, the idea of atheism. Now,
all right, I want to kind of stop there. Yeah, I agree, Amber. What possibly could go wrong? Okay, so he's kind of introduced his topic. He's feeling mischievous, and I'm feeling just as mischievous about how I'm going to respond to this, because I tend, coming out of the Protestant faith, I already had my issues as a Christian with the Catholic faith, but at the same time, I also, didn't mind a bunch of Catholics. Every once in a while, I had good dialogue with a priest that used to live in town. He was a pretty good guy. I just want to make it abundantly clear, I'm not really attacking this guy as a person. I'm more like dealing with his arguments. So we'll see what happens. But he thinks this is an inspired topic. So we'll see how inspired it is. We'll see how that goes. But here we go. Look like the Greek guy, if you had a video chat the other week. Yeah, it's possible. It could be. I don't know. It's hard to say with these people. It gets interesting. But let's see.
So far, I've been discussing ways to be a better Catholic, what being a Catholic is, and we're going to explore all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's about God, and ever-present, omnipresent, incredible, amazing God who is love itself. Okay, that is the
Okay. He's love itself. Anybody have a comment on that one? Because that's it's a claim, um, but I don't know. The biblical God doesn't seem to be love. I kind of demonstrate that over and over again. So, but yeah, all right.
The beauty of our faith is that you believe that God is watching over you. He's there every second of the day for you. You are immersed in God. He's everywhere. Okay.
Okay, so God is a voyeur. He is watching everything I do. He's concerned with everything that I'm going through. All of these are claims. All of this. Yeah, I think that's probably true. That's probably true. Yeah, he doesn't act that way like it's described. So yeah, I would agree with that. But yeah, I don't know. This guy seems to be, he has his presuppositions going. So let's roll with that and see where he goes.
And that's where we're coming from. So I thought about the atheist for a minute. I thought, well, first of all, I got to say, I'm kind of sad in my heart that if you're an atheist, you don't believe in God, because what a void that must be.
No, not really. Okay. I always love that line of there must be a void or something to that effect. They never bother to ask an atheist if there's a void in their life. I think that this is probably one of the biggest emotional arguments that they do, trying to get people, oh, you have this void in your heart and only God can fill it. It's one of those, it really, to me, is one of those great claims without evidence that, you need to have this thing in order to fill the void in your heart. Since becoming an atheist, I've come to realize that need is just there. It's inherently part of being a human. And so I don't think that that's necessarily a good argument anymore. So it's like who are you making this argument for? Because it's not for the atheist. It's definitely for people that already believe. You had this void and you accepted the faith and that got rid of your void. But I don't know. I think a lot of people have needs that they could just answer with simplicity and stuff like that. And looking at other interests. I know a lot of atheists who now don't feel this way anymore. So it's almost like it's part of the con job anymore of faith and religion in and of itself. Good to see you, Asho. Yes. Yeah, he at least admits it. That's what I said earlier. He at least admits he's a crappy Catholic. Yeah. I love my car, kitty, hugs, kids. Dang. Correct, Ember. Correct. Good to see you, Ember. I appreciate you being here. Yes, he is a crappy guy. He is. He admits it. So at least he's a crappy Catholic that admits it. No. No, it's not. I've done this before.
But like I said, I'm feeling a little mischievous. And this is from me. This is not anything official. This isn't anything that, I got from a book, I don't think. But it's 10 Reasons Why Atheism is Stupid by Mark Kwasny.
Okay, so bait and switch. The title says why he ain't going to be no atheist, but he's basically going, this is why he thinks atheism is stupid. So I always love it when we get the double, where it's like, okay, this is what it is, but then it's something else. I don't know. It's just so it's kind of one of those things where I'm just, okay. I love the love. Why does it have to be why I think atheism is stupid? Okay, it's like can it be like because I think atheism is wrong? Okay, it would have been better than that. But I could get bogged down in his preamble forever. So let's take each reason as it comes here. So let's go.
Here we go. Number one. My first thought is that if there is no God, then you don't have to act like there is a God. Now think about that for a second. For Christians in general, we live as though there is a God. We have to pay, make an account for all the stuff we've done and not done and said and not said during our lifetimes, and all the terrible things we may have done or not, that we've done, right? And as I said, I've said in earlier recordings, is that, we.
Okay, I want to stop right there. This is basically, you got to have somebody watching over your morality to be moral. He seems to be oblivious to other things in society that like watch over our morals. Like, for instance, there's, governments, laws, our society has moral reasons. Um, and I, it's kind of the morality argument sideways, where you have to be, in order to be moral, you have to have somebody watching you. You have to have a big brother. Um, to me, I've made the argument several times that a person is truly moral when they act in a moral manner that's positive and beneficial to others, and they don't think anybody's watching. They do it because it's inherent part of what they are. And it, the issue here with him is he feels like everybody has to have a final judgment to their life. And to me, I kind of lost that once I began to realize how absurd the idea of getting like final justice or a final judgment on my life is. The final judgment on my life is about 1,000,000 years from now. Nobody's going to remember I existed. Okay, so it's not going to be this final judgment on my life. When people just are going to judge you. There's other people that judge your actions in the here and now. And I'm not sure that a final judgment is actually practically helpful. I think more helpful than this is having a judgment in the here and now, whether I'm acting correctly in the here and now. That's much more beneficial and a much more time exclusive. Yeah, it's exactly this. You're disciplined enough to do it on your own adult. Okay. The idea of somebody having to watch me in order to be morally right and morally behave is kind of like a very childlike attitude of mom and dad are watching. Okay. After a while, if parents are really successful in getting their morality across to their children, those children will act in those moral ways without, well, mom and dad ain't watching right now, but I'm still going to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And I don't know. Is this a good reason to be an atheist? No, because I think there's a lot of systems in place in society, in the way we do things, reciprocity, all the things that go into morality. I've had this argument so many times this week about morality, and it's like there's a whole list of things that become the basis of secular morality without God. They always exist, whether you throw God in there or not. Okay. There's a whole basis for morality. Think that the only basis for morality has to be a divine being given dictates. That is very narrowly focused on what morality is. Morality is a much more complex topic. It's why when I talk about it, it's like it's something I'm wrestling with, because finding finding something that's good is very different. So it's one of those things that I'm not convinced that, if somebody feels that they have to have this need to have people watching themselves to be moral, then I guess I have a problem with the morality. So I don't know. I'm just getting away from that attitude. I just don't like it. Okay, asshole. I saw you, but I'm trying to pay attention to the video. And you guys always make this hard. Your chat is always so awesome, and it's hard to not pay attention. But let's see what else he has to say about
Use
this.
the Ten Commandments as kind of a baseline guideline for that, to say, okay, how am I living? And God says, well, do this, don't do that. Okay, so we have guidelines to go by because we know at the end of our lives we're going to be judged, right? But
you don't know that at the end of your life is going to be judged, and you really want to bring out the 10 Commandments as a good moral guide. I mean, don't kill, don't steal. Yes, none of the people when they went to Mount Sinai knew that it was wrong to kill or steal at that point, even though other law codes existed, like the Code of Hammurabi. Many other law codes existed that said the same thing. And how do some of the 10 commandments even relate to morality? Okay, it's like 3 of them are basically about making sure you don't piss God off, the God Yahweh, because he's a jealous God, even though later on the Bible says love isn't jealous, and also calls God love. So, he's already made the statement that God is love, but then he backtracks himself uh, and says, we got this jealous God that we have to obey. There's commandments about obeying your parents, but what if your parents are abusive? Okay, what if they're awful people? Do I really want, if they tell me to murder or steal, should I obey them? Not coveting. So we got mind control crime. You're not allowed to commit mind crimes. As I go through the list, it's like, don't bearing false witness. I suppose that's okay. But is it really a moral code? And I'll be honest. Yeah. Yeah. The first 4 can be cut out. I agree with that. They could just be dumped and you still wouldn't have a decent moral code that covers everything. And as I was pointing out in somebody else's stream the other day, which 10 commandments are we talking about? The ones that are actually called the 10 commandments have a command in there, don't boil a kid in its mother's milk. What the hell does that have to do with morality other than moral systems? It's like, yeah, they're not good moral codes. So yeah. And I think if you're worshiping out of fear, God isn't going to accept that. You're only doing the right thing because you fear it. How does that make you a better person? Okay. So I'm not sure that this really is a good reason to reject what I would call atheism. He's not really even dealing with atheism. He's really talking more about his own beliefs, how he believes God is watching him. And he has this standard of, morality from the 10 commandments. And that's what he's going by. So it's that kind of issue. I don't really see how he's made an argument against atheism here. He's just making an argument of why he's a Catholic or why he's a believer. Um, so, um, so I'm not really sure what's going to happen, with the rest of the video. In some case, I watched it, but I don't remember it all that well. I'm getting to that age. Everybody was speaking backwards. Yeah. Yeah, it's that's the thing about it, judging afterlife. There's no evidence of an afterlife. There's no evidence of any of these afterlife situations. I've tried to point that out to many people, like, give me your evidence for heaven, give me your evidence for hell, give me your evidence for reincarnation, give me your evidence for Valhalla, give me your evidence for these places. And everybody gives you a blank stare because it's all taken on faith. Earl, I don't remember calling, but I'm glad you're here. So, but here we go. So his first reason is basically, without somebody watching you, you wouldn't be moral. Without somebody judging you at the end of your life, you wouldn't be moral either. So it's better to believe in God, and why he wouldn't want to be an atheist. So there's that.
But atheists don't even have that. And as I've also mentioned earlier, it's like, how many people say something like, well, I'm basically a good person. I'm like, based on what? So if you don't have God.
Based on what? Based on the fact that my society might consider me a good person. You're trying to introduce the idea that we need somebody that's perfect to judge goodness. And I don't think that that's valid. To me, goodness and badness is kind of those are value judgments. And so it dwells in the realm of judgment. If you introduce, like, I've got to have a God to give me an opinion on whether I'm good or not, I think at that point you're, I don't know. It's one of those things where, no, I don't give you an afterlife. I don't give you this final arbiter of good and morally good and evil. I don't give you that. What I give you is humanity making those judgments as a whole and learning and growing and making their morality better. The problem with the dictated morality is it's stuck in stone and it doesn't get any better. Morality is, okay, it has to be, in order to be a social spin. So it's that, to me, that's aspect, because here's the other problem, and Ember's pointing it out really well. You trust this guy, he's a good example of somebody who's trusting Roman Catholicism. But what about all the other religions? They say that they have commandments given by God too. So which one is real? Which one is right? Which morality code? It's almost like, so there's that aspect of how in the world do I pick which moral code there is? There are so many to choose from. And he's, I don't give you this final judgment at the end. I don't give you a big brother watching you all the time. What I do ask you to do is grow up morally and develop a moral system for yourself that treats people well. There's plenty of things to base your moral systems on. There's all kinds of moral philosophical systems that don't involve a God. I try to tell that to people who comment, I don't have any morality if I don't have a God, all the time, and already we're dealing with the moral issues. So, but that's so there it is. So there's that point
to account to. If you don't believe that there's a God, then you can do anything you want, right? You can.
No, I cannot do anything I want. If I go out and start murdering people, somebody's going to try to stop me. If I go out and try to do things that society deems detrimental to society, there's a reason why laws exist. There's a reason why governments exist. There's a reason, libertarian though I am, I think this is one of the reasons government maybe should exist, is to balance, to keep people from harming each other and protecting people's rights. But this notion that somehow if I don't have a God, I don't have anybody to be accountable to. This is just a total lack of self-awareness about what is around you. It's like, how in the world do you get that idea? Yes, this is another good point. Yeah, that in the United States, atheism is actually so far underrepresented in prisons. It's amazing. It's like 1 in 1,000 prisoners is an atheist, and when you consider like roughly 1 in 10 atheists exist in, or non-believers, people that just are nuns, are actually like 3 out of 10. When you consider how many of us there are, and then there's the people that believe actually overrepresent in a lot of the countries, not just the United States. But it's, this reasoning behind that if you don't have a God, God gives you a lot of reasons to really be crappy to each other, like especially to people that don't believe as you do. So, it's like there's a whole bunch of things that lead to morality and accountability in a real society. Every society has accountability levels. To sit there and say, like this guy is saying, that the only thing that keeps you accountable is God, that's just a total lack of self-awareness. It just really is just a total lack of self-awareness about how you're kept accountable in a society.
You can do anything you want, which means good, bad, or indifferent. So, all right, point number 2. Like it or not, when you die, and if you believe in God or you don't believe in God, you're going to meet God.
Claim without evidence. Prove said God exists that I'm going to meet. And which one are we talking about? Which God am I going to meet? I always get a kick out of it because I subscribe to a lot of pagan stuff on my Facebook page. And there's one cartoon where Muhammad and Jesus arrive at the pearly gates, and Odin is behind the desk deciding who gets into Valhalla. It's like, which one are we talking about? Once again, you're sitting here saying that your reason not to be an atheist is an unsubstantiated claim that there is a God, that there is an afterlife, You have all these claims that you're making. You have provided no evidence for them for yourself or anybody else. Well, maybe you think it's good evidence, but once again, to the atheist, these these are claims. Do you have any evidence for the claim that there is a God? I don't think that. Once again, you're not really giving me a reason to not be an atheist or why you're not an atheist. You're basically asserting that you want to believe in God and want to believe in an afterlife and that you're going to be judged. So, I'm not really sure, maybe this is a good reason for you not to be an atheist, but it sure as hell isn't a good reason for me.
Now, that seems a very scary proposition. Now, I don't know about you, but I would not want to base my whole life or make the bet that there's no God only to discover that there is, right? Have you ever made a bet and lost? Have you ever been so confident?
Okay, so Pascal's wager, anyone? I think I've done my version of Pascal's wager 100 times, but it's like, actually, it's a 50-50 shot at whether there is a God or not. And I had arguments with this. I mean, if the first proposition is there's a God and an afterlife that to deal with, or there isn't. Okay, so that's a 50-50 bet. I bet on black. Okay, that doesn't exist. Okay, but you haven't really solved your problem on the red side of the wheel, of the roulette wheel. You have to pick the right square and hope that it's the right square. Hope it's the right God. Hope it's the right afterlife scenario. Your odds of being wrong are far higher than mine, because what if the Catholic Church is, as the Protestant says, the great Satan, and you're part of the great Satan and being deceived? If that's the case, then you still lose, even though you believe all this stuff. Okay, but if you're just going to say, well, I'm going to bet on God and bet on my religion, well, fine. Great that you're a gambler. Well, that doesn't mean that I have to bet on it. Okay, I can bet the other way. Okay, and I think I got a 50-50 shot. And if I do meet a God, and there is a God of the universe, I really hope he's better than the one in the Bible, because I hope he actually judges me based on my merit and not just because of whether I believed or not, because anybody can believe in anything. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm beginning to think he is a pre-supper. So, uh, so there's that aspect of it. Yeah, I think this is Fred. This is what happens when you become a Catholic for a while. There's just this assumption that you're right, and it becomes a real problem whenever I've dealt with a Catholic on this channel. It's just like they are far more entrenched in their beliefs than a lot of like fundamentalist Protestants are. Fundamentalist Protestants are difficult to deal with, but you get a fundamentalist Catholic, and holy damn, it is really hard to get them off their stuff. So, yeah, here we are. Over and under all the other gods. Ember, if there is a God, the God I want to exist is on the back wall behind me, Odin, because at least he's honest about his worshipers. He's like, yeah, I will sacrifice you to forestall Ragnarok. At least he's honest about that shit. Yahweh says he loves you and then burns you, so it's kind of like, yeah, I can't really trust Yahweh. So, it's kind of one of those things. I have trust issues with Yahweh now.
About something only to find out you weren't right. So here's my advice for whatever it's worth, is that live your life like there is a God. And then at the end of your life, if you meet God, well, not if, when you meet God, you can say, hey, I lived the best I could based on your moral code or based on this code that you have given. Because what could be worse than to live your life like there's no God, and then when you die, it's like, uh-oh.
I have an alternative for you. Now, first of all, everything you just said is based on a lot of presuppositions that, A, there is a God, and you're saying I should bet that direction. But I have an alternative for you. What if you were allowed after death to realize there is no God, and then you spent all your time, money, and energy to this God, and you just wasted all that time and money and energy, the one and only life you got, you burned, wasting something false? I would say that's that's probably true. It's I don't get it. Okay, it's like you're to me, it's better to live your life asking for proof of something before you start to believe it. And so far, the gods are the all of paganism is kind of that way, Earl. You can't read mythology without that stuff. I'm sorry, but it just and it's not just the dudes either. Okay, if you really read some of these ladies like Freya, they're a little bit overboard too. So, um, but there's that point to be made. Yeah, he'll throw you in your fire if you're not making your own decisions. If you make your own decisions, yes. The real issue I have with this argument, of course, is he's basically playing Pascal's wager to the nth degree. And as I pointed out, that Pascal's wager isn't complete. You would have to factor all the factors of every single God belief. I mean, he's sitting there believing God. Well, which one? Okay, which pantheon? Which Abrahamic God? I mean, you're basically assuming that it's your God, but how do you know that? Okay, I just don't. It's one of the things that has always bothered me about pre-suppers is like you haven't even bothered to prove your God is the right one compared to the other deities. Why are you bothering me as an atheist? You haven't even done that. Okay, so it's like it's one of those things that has always bothered me about pre-suppers is like, have you even bothered to prove your own God in comparison to the others? And this guy's just like running with it. So here we go. Let's see if we can get to the third reason here.
Guess what? You were wrong. There is a God. And he's going to be like, yeah, well, you get the zero, dude. So if you're going to hedge your
I get more than zero. I get burning in a fire for a while. I suppose Catholicism will get me out of that eventually, with purgatory and stuff. But once again, that's an unproven assertion too. So, but what if you're wrong? If you're wrong, you just wasted most of your life on a fantasy that didn't pan out. So, I think you actually lose something that's real, and I lose your fantasy that you think is real. So there's a big difference. So, yeah. Oh, there you go.
bets, hedge your bets that there is a God and live that way. Because what's the worst that can
Nope.
happen? You
Nope.
live
I'm
a
not
moral
gonna.
code. You live like there is a God. You're good and kind and nice to other people. You live morally.
I can be good and kind and nice to other people without the belief in God. That's the great mistake that you make. Yes, it's like so. Yeah, this is exactly what he's doing with this reason why he's not going to be an atheist. But this isn't really a good reason to be not to be an atheist. It's just trying to prop up your own belief and faith. It's like he hasn't really dealt with. He's trying to do the no God leads to bad morals, and why don't you hedge your bets that there is one? But I'm sorry, the more I look at the odds, the more the odds tell me that all this gods and afterlife stuff is wishful thinking by humans. There seems to be pretty good evidence that. So there's that part.
Right? So that's all I'm saying. Give it a shot. But why not hedge your bets
Already
and go for
have.
the winning bet? Just saying.
It's
Number
not a winning
three,
bet.
if there is no ultimate divine being, then I think we'd have to believe that humans are a God, right? So who's
No, I don't have to believe humans are divine. I can cut that. You're making the assumption that we have to believe in something divine, that something has to be God. And no, if I discard all gods, that means I can deal with something that isn't. I don't know. I'm sorry. You're assuming that we need a God, and it's like, no, I don't need one. I think that's the beauty of being an atheist is I don't need a God anymore. Yeah, uh, it's definitely a false dichotomy. It's like, no, I'm not. We don't we don't have to have that anymore. Okay, and so as an atheist, I can go my merry way without a God and come up with better solutions. It's like it's as Greg points out, it's a very entitled privilege attitude to sit there and say that I should automatically have a God. I don't just because I dismiss the God of the Bible doesn't mean that humanity becomes God. It just means humanity is humanity. Okay, that's just bad reasoning.
the ultimate intelligence on this earth if it's not God? Please, please don't tell me it's some, some movie star, some music star, some political candidate, right? Because I think we all fall into that trap every once in a while. We're looking for a savior on earth. We're looking for some fallen human to.
Okay, here's the other problem I have with your viewpoint on life at this point. I don't need a savior. I don't know why there's always this assumption among these people that you have to have a savior. Okay, like something so wrong with humanity that somebody has to charge in with their white horse and fix everything. Um, I just, I don't know. I don't get it. No, I don't think they do. Okay, I think humans are self-interested, but that's not the same thing. Um, hey, skeptically. Good to see some of you tonight. I appreciate it. But no, I don't need it to be, I don't need a savior. I don't need somebody to come along and fix everything. I don't need, this is a real white knight kind of attitude where I've got to have this white knight that deals with stuff. So it's like, it's one of the, I just don't get it. I really don't. And I just don't get it anymore. I guess I've been an atheist long enough that I just don't see what he's saying here. Because as an atheist, I don't need a savior. I don't need somebody to fix the problem necessarily. And sometimes life is a lot better than we give it credit for. Okay, I think that's one of the things I have a problem with religion is they label everybody sinful. They label everybody as wrong. They label the world as just a big mess and a big problem. And it's like I always tell people there's the other side to the bad statistic. If like, 1,000 murders were committed in this area, well, how big is the population of that area? Oh, it's like 10 million people. Okay, so 9 million whatever didn't commit murder that year. Okay, it's like there's the other side where people didn't do something evil that nobody ever wants to talk about. Like they just lived their life and were decent human beings. And we don't want to see that because religion wants to color it negative all the time. And here we go. So let's see where he goes with this.
Fill the gap and be our leader and rule the world, right? You've got the World Economic Forum. You've got a guy named Klaus Schwab, although I think he stepped down. But those people are like, we're going to tell you how to live. We're going to tell you what to do. We're going to make your lives miserable.
Well, first of all, I would tell all those people to F off and give them the middle finger because I'm not very good at, I'm too contrarian to be told what to do. So that's kind of, there's a lot of organizations that do that. They get together and they try to say, this is how we're going to do things. And I don't know. So it's one of those things where I don't get it. Yeah, this is the real straw man of, we need a savior. We need somebody to come in and fix the world's problems. And the problem is not everything works for everybody. Okay. And that's Earl is your savior. Okay. Fair enough. I can see that. so I don't, I'm, yeah, this is where my problem with this guy is I don't think he's really self-reflective. Okay. So I don't know. He's becoming a real good example of what religion does to you. It doesn't allow you a lot of self-reflection. It also doesn't allow you to see the positive sides of things because there always has to be a problem in religion that religion is trying to solve. So I don't know. He's kind of headed that way.
Do they believe in God? I don't think so. So something has to fill the void, right? And they fill the void.
No, something doesn't have to fill a void. You're assuming a void, which you haven't proven. And I can reject anybody who tries to get there. Yeah, valid point. Light of the gospel has blinded them. I can see that. I can see that too. Yeah, I think they do need to get over themselves. I think one of the biggest things that when I deconverted, I realized how full of myself I was. That the assumption is, and the problem with presuppositionalism and why I don't allow them to really be around on this channel is there's so much arrogance to it, and I just have so much trouble dealing with the arrogance anymore. If atheism has done anything to me, it's made me realize how small I am, and how little I matter, okay, in the grand scheme of things. And that it doesn't mean I can't have a good purpose and do some good things and where I can touch, but it's just like you realize that almost everything is bigger than you are, and it's going to take more help than that. So yeah, it's like my friend Fred here saying, "No, there is no damn void." So it's like that is. So there's that. So well, there we go.
And they're a bunch of morons anyway. So that's a good point. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, let's call everybody a moron. Name calling is always such a good intellectual way of dismissing somebody. That's great stuff.
Number 4. Okay, atheistic communism. It's not called atheistic communism for no reason. It's because
I forgot this part. Oh my God, I have a terrible desire right now to call up the guy and say, "Hey, dude, the 1950s Red Scare called and they want their argument back." Oh my God. All right. On a more serious note, atheism and communism don't necessarily go together, but I think he's probably going to make that case. Let's hear him out here. If I can do it without laughing too much.
communists don't believe in God because they believe they are God, because they believe that they have
Okay, just to clarify, I don't really know of too many communists have declared that they are God. So that's an assumption on your part. There are some communist leaders that were atheists, but that's not a reflection on all of atheism. I think this is the fact that here we are in 2025, okay, and this video is still up and playing, that we are in 2025, and the Red Scare argument of the 1950s that the godless communists were going to take over, still alive and well in the brains of some people, goes to how effective this propaganda was, that the Red Scare propaganda was so effective that it still exists in people like this is amazing to me. Because if you actually sit down with most atheists, it's like herding cats. When it comes to economics, when it comes to social views, they're all over the place. Okay. I'm probably the farthest from a communist there could be, and I'm an atheist, but I don't, yeah, I don't know either. Okay. Cause I don't know. That kind of killed his argument, didn't it? Oh, some of you are laughing as hard as I did. Oh, this is great. But yeah, it's like, dude, really? Like, really?
again nothing higher to hold allegiance to, right? We're back to they can do anything they want.
No, once again, I cannot do anything I want. If I start doing anything I want, well, let me clarify that. Much like Penn Jillette said it many times, it's like, yes, I've murdered all the people I've wanted to. I have sexually assaulted all the people I've wanted to. I've stolen all the things that I've wanted to. And you know what that number is? 0. Because I have told me that those are bad things to do to other people because I don't want to do them done to myself. Okay, notice that I did not reference God in that entire statement. Okay, geez, oh Pete, I'm sorry, I don't, this assumption after assumption stuff. If this is the reasons why you're not an atheist, they're not very good reasons. Okay, because you're proceeding from a lot of misnomers. So here we go. Let's see if I can get through this 4th reason. It's becoming hard because he's making it hard for me to keep a straight face.
In all their writings, everything's so fluffy and wonderful, and look at us, we're going to give you paradise on earth. When was the last time that human beings could give you paradise on earth?
And when is the last time that any religion gave us paradise on earth? I'm still waiting for that too. I mean, every ideology promises some form of utopian existence, and every ideology fails. It's almost like human beings are too diverse in their ideology and the way they look at the universe to really get along in some ways. So I don't know. Yeah, I agree, Earl. It's a little bit rude. I don't know. So yes, did they force it? Yeah, I think some of them did, and it was certain religions. Like, it's interesting that the Russian Orthodox Church still survives even after the Soviet Union and survived during the Soviet Union. It's almost like people still went there. The other thing I could make a point out to him at this point, I'm not sure if he's going to go there, but do you know how many Latin American countries that were communists were also heavily Roman Catholic? Um, I I wonder if he's aware of that. Well, I guess we'll find out. We'll find out.
Look at anywhere in the country and in the world and show me a human paradise on earth where everybody's treated equally and wonderfully and people have no wants and everything. You know, if you look back at communism, anywhere it's been tried, it's like so many people live in misery, so much.
Agreed to a large extent, but what does communism have to do with atheism? Okay, you've switched gears from atheism to communism because you haven't demonstrated there's a necessary connection between the two. So yeah, I mean,
Much death, so much murder, but and it's all from like the government, right? They're the ones who are telling you what to do, how.
uh, uh, but that just points out what I, as a libertarian, would say, that the government isn't this answer to all problems either. A lot of political scientists said that back in the Enlightenment, um, that government had proved to be just as flawed as religion in many respects as solving world problems. So maybe there's other solutions that need to be proposed. I don't know.
To live, and go talk to anybody who lives in a communist country and tell me that they're super happy, right? And the biggest lie with communism is how they think, everyone's going to be equal.
And isn't that proposed by heaven, the doctrine of heaven too, though? I mean, when I look at heaven, what could be more communist than heaven? Okay. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude here, but everybody has their needs met. Everybody lives in a paradise on earth. It sounds like the same propaganda. Are you jealous that another group of people has the same propaganda as you? Is that what this is? Is it a jealousy thing? Um, yeah, some of the churches actually did work for Soviet intelligence. Particularly the confessional booth is a good place to get information. Let's just be real. So that's just true.
And I think everyone secretly thinks that they're going to be on top. They're somehow going to have the nice house and all this other wonderful stuff. Yeah.
And every Christian I have ever talked to thinks that they're going to be the person that's so devout that they're going to be right next to Jesus when he's right next to the throne. It's like there's always these people. I mean, and denominationalism and schismism inside the Roman Catholic Church, people try to tell me that the Roman Catholic Church is unified, and I know better. I mean, just any American Catholic, you talk to a lot of them, they're like, yeah, they're on birth control. The ladies probably had an abortion or two. There's a massive amount of hypocrisy within the Catholic Church, where Catholics are all over the place on social issues and economic issues and things like that. But it's like you're going pretty hard against communism, but I don't hear any atheism here. And your connection between communism and atheism is tenuous at best. So I don't know. I don't. It's like you're proposing heaven as a communist paradise, and yet you're ripping into communism. Because heaven, to me, if you look at the doctrines of heaven I've all heard, it's like, dude, I don't know. I don't get how you rip into this. Plus, dude, you know how many Roman Catholic communist countries there have been in the history of the world? Quite a few. So I don't know what you're going at.
We already know the people who rise to the top in an atheistic communist system, they're the ones who make the rules. They're the ones who send the guys with the guns after you. They're the ones who put you in prison, right?
Yeah, it kind of happens in religious dictatorships too. So, I mean, you're not describing something inherent to communism or any other governmental system. If you have a totalitarian or authoritarian government of any type, they're gonna be the ones that rise to the top. But once again, aren't there better places in heaven? Aren't there better places? I mean, you're the one. Yeah, here we go. yeah, you're the one who think that you're going to heaven. Okay. How do you know that? It's like, yeah, I know. I get it. Okay. My thing is that from somebody who lived through the Cold War, I can get where the problems are. It's like, there's no such thing as a perfect system, is my point. And he's trying to point to a perfect system. And I don't think such an animal is going to exist, because you can't create a system that's going to appeal to everybody and meet everybody's needs. I just think it's a fool's errand to think that way. So, yes, yeah, I think that's what heaven is, a communist authoritarian dictatorship. But it's supposed to be okay because it's God, right? Like Yahweh God. Oh, wait, I've read the Old Testament. So
Yeah, we're all equal. Some of us are just more equal than others. So,
it's
in
kind of the
terms
way
of being a
it's
Catholic, though, we were told by Our Lady of Fatima in 1917 that Russia would spread its errors. And in Russia, the errors were atheistic communism. And if you look around today,
uh, okay. Whatever. I think I've already beat this dead horse. So, but that's a better version of heaven than I've heard in a while. So I'll let that one go. That one's funny, actually, too. The beer part, especially. I'll take the beer and friends part. Not sure about Minecraft, though. Maybe something else. I don't know. But yeah, atheistic communism is what they spread. Okay, whatever. I don't know. I thought, see, once again, he still hasn't made this connection between communism and atheism. It's not necessarily bedfellows. Once again, I don't know. Maybe the chat can sound off if they want to, of what they're. I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but at the same time, I know tons of atheists, and they're all over the place when it comes to economics. They're all over the place when it comes to social issues. They're all over the place when it comes to morality and dealing with different situations. All of it with an eye on good. But the idea that atheism leads to one particular economic system, or leads to one, it can't do that. It only deals with the issue of whether there's a God or not. Okay. So I don't get how that's not obvious to some people, but some people get so indoctrinated by their church that they think that these connections exist, and I don't get it. It's like, dude, go talk to an atheist today and ask them if they're a communist, and they'll probably laugh at you like I would, like I did. So
you see how much atheism has penetrated like governments and leaders and everything. And it's so outrageous when you think about it. It's like,
I know, Earl. I feel for you. I've committed myself to react to this entire video tonight, because I'm building it as the groundwork for an actual more official reaction later this week. But it's like, what I want to try to do here is, this is what some people believe. This is what some people believe, and they act on this belief when they talk to atheists, and it's really sad. It's one of the greatest. This whole video is one of the greatest misinformations about. He should have called it misinformation about atheists. Is what he should have done, because this is exactly what the kind of crap I deal with every day. But
we don't believe in God, but you have to listen to us. It's like, dude.
And the Catholic Church goes, we believe in God, and you have to listen to us. What's the difference?
Who died and made you God? I mean, for goodness sakes.
And who died and made the Pope the Pope? The other popes, going back to supposedly Peter. Okay, I mean, you're sitting there yelling about an authoritarian structure called communism, and all the while being in the Roman Catholic Church, which is an authoritarian structure. Please spare me. Okay, I mean, dude,
really, like, it just doesn't make any sense. So if you think logically through it, if there's no God, something has to fill the void. And so far,
no, once again, there is no void to fill. This is an assumption that you make.
Fill the void has been just horrific. So, number 5. Oh, this is kind of cool. So I wrote down that the Catholic Church is the largest non-governmental healthcare provider in the world. So because of that morality, perhaps, because of that, living as though there is a God, which there is, but in the teaching of Jesus Christ, it's about love, loving your brother, loving each other, helping each other.
except the part that says to hate your mother and your brother and all that crap too. We already went over this in my last live stream, but it's like it's amazing how people cherry pick what Jesus said and don't listen to the other parts that Jesus said. But once again, your assumption that you have, in order to be good, you have to have your faith. You've just listed enough number of good works that I know secular organizations do. Okay. I know that they do these things. I know that they, you know, I mean, I think somebody calculated like 60% of charitable organizations don't have any religious affiliation. So this idea that you have to have this, you know, um, fictional character do stuff, I think is just one of those things that, you know, in order to do moral good, it's like, it's every argument I usually get, oh, what religion does so much good. And I said, take the religion out of it and tell me that they still can't do good. Okay. And usually, well, yeah, I guess we could still do good without it. Yes, exactly. And that's my point. And so his whole point doesn't line up with reality here. So I'll let him keep babbling because, you know, otherwise this is going to be a 4-hour stream.
Other, getting us through this life and everything. So because of that, you know, the church establishes all these hospital systems around the world. And I guess,
and there's a shit ton of secular hospital systems around the world too, but we'll avoid that.
My quick question for all the atheists out there is, where is the atheist healthcare system?
Pretty much every secular health. It's not about atheism, dude. It's about a secular healthcare system, and plenty of healthcare system is secular. It's not based in Roman Catholicism or any other work. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad you guys do hospital work, but why then aren't you like calling out like Mother Teresa's lack of hospital care and the fact that she took most of the money that she got and built more nunneries with it? You know, it's like they didn't, you know, not all of the Roman Catholic healthcare. I don't get it. I don't get it all. I mean, you can sit here and talk about your good works. It's amazing. You know, Christopher Hitchens said, you know, it's amazing how quickly these people go to good works, but it has absolutely nothing to do with whether God exists or not. This isn't an argument against atheism. It's kind of like I'm trying to prop up my Catholicism. And, you know, I don't care that Catholic, yeah, Bren has said it for me here. I don't care that, so what, that Catholics have hospitals? So what? A lot of organizations have hospitals. So what's the big deal? Who cares? Okay, that doesn't tell anything about against atheism. But as far as your accusation that atheists don't have hospital systems, there are plenty of atheist doctors, nurses working in hospitals. There's plenty of secular hospitals and secular systems. Yes, this is another issue about your Catholic hospitals, is because there's a lot of denying of healthcare by Catholic hospitals because of certain moral, ethical considerations. And a lot of people die because of that, or have quality of life reduced at the bare minimum. So your Catholic hospitals aren't exactly a model of morality. So I'm not really sure you're going where you're going with this. Let's continue.
Or hospitals, or atheists, you know, like like name an organization like, you know, Atheists Without Borders or something.
It's funny that you just said that, because, and I'm about to laugh, because Doctors Without Borders is literally a secular organization. Okay. And you just almost named an organization that you're looking for and didn't bother. Yes, I know. I'm so sorry, Earl. I really am. But when I saw this guy, I knew I had to, because this is your average Catholic. This is where they live. Okay. A lot of them live here. Okay. They just live here. And it makes me sad.
You go all over the world and you're helping people. Right. So again, we're back to, if you don't have a moral code.
I know he's a hot button topic, but I know like Christopher Hitchens, Richard Dawkins, almost all the big four, I think all of them had charities that they gave to that helped secular organizations help people. This just shows that he hasn't really done his research on secular organizations. So it's yes, that's another point. I think there's probably atheists working in your Catholic hospitals. So That would take a lot more centuries because it's not true. But no, it's sorry, that isn't the way it
So
is.
then what are you fighting for? What are you living for? What are you?
I fight for a lot of things and I live for a lot of things. When it comes to healthcare, I know a lot of atheist healthcare providers that are actually trying to, help people instead of praying all the time and hoping it gets better. But yeah, so there's that aspect.
Are you helping other people? Ah, yeah, I know. We're all basically good people. I get it.
Yes, we are.
You gotta laugh about this one. There's these arguments from as far back as I can tell. It goes back to evolution and everything, but there's the Big Bang Theory, which is that one day something in the dark universe blew up, and then the universe was formed perfectly. And
Nobody says that the universe is formed perfectly. It just says that it formed. Already you're losing me.
great order, and just this incredible idea. And then you tell me you're a thinking person, or I like to think I'm a thinking person a little bit, but you think about it for a second and say, okay, so you don't believe in God, so God didn't create the.
Yes, he's apparently unaware that the person who came up with the theory of universe expansion was a Catholic. Okay. And the Pope actually said, if we want to at the time said, we can make this canon if you want. And he's apparently unaware of that. And that I find funny. I do find that funny. He accused us of being a good person. He did. I saw him. Oh my goodness. Chat is legion today. You guys are great. I know this is
Big Bang
pissing some of you off,
which means something exploded. And we get back to first cause. Like, well, what was this? Where did this something come from?
And you still run into the problem of wanting to stop that whole infinite regression problem you think exists with your God, where you say purely presuppositionally, without any proof, that your God is something that has always existed, that created all that. But you don't have any evidence for that. And so I can ask, well, where did your God come from? And then you say, well, he didn't come from anywhere. Okay, so you believe something came from nothing, your God. Okay, so it's like it's dude, there's been a lot of talk about this, but the fact that you don't know that it was a Catholic who came up with the Big Bang Theory amazes me. That's kind of amazing.
It's infuriating because at some point you're forced to believe that there's just nothing, absolutely nothing, and then something comes out of nothing.
Yeah, kind of like I don't know is a reasonable argument. Agree, Dragon Rider. But you also have the problem of where did your God come from? Okay. Oh, he doesn't have an origin. Well, how is that possible? Okay, give me the mechanics of how a being can exist and always exist without presupposing. Okay, this has always been the problem in theology of trying to prove that this sort of thing just exists. Okay, your God doesn't have any proof. Yeah, true, Brad. So, yeah. I don't know, guys. The problem I had with now, skeptic likes to react to things that are really stupid like this, but the fact is, this guy has a channel and he produces this stuff. Okay, and he talks this way all the time. And he's not the only theist channel that does this stuff. It's legions. I will never, ever run out of material to respond to with theists because they're always saying shit like this. And it's like Christopher Hitchens says, you never know what they're going to say. And that's what makes it yes, a crappy Catholic is his chosen name. It's his channel name too. Yes, it's funny. At least he admits it. At least he admits it. So, all right, keep going.
It's like, how does that make any sense? You can ask a 5-year-old, like, where did this come? Where? Oh, it came from nowhere. It just.
Or I don't know is a good answer. If you don't know, that's actually honest. If you don't know, I don't know is an honest answer. We may not know where all that stuff came from, but you don't get to throw God in there, and you still have to prove to me how a being can always exist. What is the mechanics of that outside the universe? Something that has no No, doesn't occupy space, time, or anything like that. It's kind of a description of something that doesn't exist. Yeah, yeah. It's honest advertising. I agree. Honest advertising one. So, so
Came
there's that.
out of thin air, right? It doesn't make any sense at all. So it's pretty funny. The whole idea
Yeah, kind of like when God says, "Let there be light," and there was light. Light just appeared out of thin air. That doesn't make any sense either. But that's what the Bible says.
of, again, in evolution, that's a whole nother topic in itself. But the just stuff just, boom, comes out of nowhere. And, okay, so even the earth is formed, right? Perfectly.
I got to deal with something in the chat here real quick. That's a very unrealistic expectation. Okay. And it's a horrible view. Okay, by the way. So
Human beings can breathe, there's water, everything's perfect. And it just came out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden, something in the water, which again came from nothing.
it didn't come from nothing at that point. Okay. First of all, once again, and I really hate that I have to keep saying this, but theists keep pushing it and apologists keep. I'm an atheist and I don't believe things came from nothing. Okay. I just don't. Okay. Evolution had a starting point with something. Okay. Go back further. There's something, there's something, there's something. There's always something. A categorical nothing. I'm wondering whether or not that's even possible. Okay. Even if you define nothing, then now it's something because you defined it. Okay. So it's like, I don't get that. I don't get that at all. So I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but it's like this continued trope argument that I believe something came from nothing. That's not a good reason to not be an atheist if that's what you think atheists believe, because we don't believe that. Okay. We don't think that way. Okay. And this is so much other than there's so much wrong here. So, but we'll keep going.
Somehow hops up on a dry land and becomes over time human beings. With brains and minds and thoughts and
except that's well documented. Okay. Evolution has more probably proof for it than even the atomic theory at this point. Okay. Biology is something we know far better than anything else at this point. So dude, just because you don't understand it, your incredulity doesn't make you right. Okay. I mean, there's a lot of things I don't understand. And so I will say I don't understand or I don't know. It's a better way to deal with stuff, but to just assume stuff like this, it's wrong. And once again, you're the one that believes that something came from nothing. You believe your God waved his hand, said some words, and then it existed. That's you believing something came out of nothing, not me. Okay. I believe in a process. So there's that aspect of it. So here we go.
And everything like that. So even to just think about it for a second, even on a very juvenile level, you scratch your head and you're like, okay, so stuff comes out of nothing, and then it's
stuff doesn't come out of nothing. So
really smart and everything. It's like,
no, that's not the way it works. You're just demonstrating you don't understand, and you're basically admitting to incredulity at this point. You don't understand it, so therefore it can't be true. So, not a real good reason not to be an atheist.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. It's pretty stupid. Okay, number 7. I've noticed that atheists don't believe in miracles. Okay, there are skeptics, and maybe they're not always atheists, but for atheists as a rule, you can't believe in miracles, because if you believe in miracles, you believe in God, or you believe in a superior force, you believe in something that has just gone outside the rules of nature and said, okay, this is like out of nowhere. There's nothing to explain this, right? And I use for an example the Shroud of Turin, if you've ever heard of it, and hopefully you have.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Sorry, I hate to swear when I'm streaming. I swear a lot when I'm private, but what the WTF, dude? The Shroud of Turin, you're going to really bring that in here? Okay.
Yeah, I'm absolutely fed up with this. When you see articles about the Shroud of Turin, could this really be the burial cloth of Jesus? Oh my goodness, this thing's been around. How many more times do scientists have to use all their super equipment to look at it and look all the fibers and
debunk it? Okay, how many times do we have to debunk the Shroud of Turin couldn't have been the burial cloth of Jesus? I mean, how many times do we have to look at this and realize it isn't what you think it is, Catholics? Oh my God.
everything and say, oh my gosh, they've already said there's no natural explanation for it. There's no way this could have happened by humans. And they said,
Bullshit. There are, dude, did you even bother to do an internet search on the disproof of the Shroud of Turin? There are so many naturalistic explanations of how this happened. I've lost count. It's a medieval scam, like most of the relics in the church are. They're scams. Okay, we're coming up on another one where Saint Valentine's skull is supposed to grow the thorns are supposed to grow red roses. Well, we know for a fact that the flipping church replaces those every year right before the 14th of February. It's like, Jesus, this dude, damn.
well, somebody painted this. It's just, it goes beyond.
Because somebody did paint the Shroud of Turin. They've got the document.
Look, it's a miracle. End of story. All right.
No,
you either believe it or you.
Dude, no, it's not a miracle. It's a, what is it? The movie Zulu, where the one guy says it's a miracle. And, if it's a miracle, it's a rifle miracle. And the other guy says, yeah, it's a bayonet with some guts behind it. It's like, no, the Shroud of Turin is not a miracle. It's been documented to be a fraud. Okay. And nearly every one of these relics and miracles and stuff. I mean, I realize this guy's a Catholic, and so he has to do apologetics for this Catholic stuff. But it's like every one of these miracles, I can have a magician, an illusionist like Penn and Teller or somebody explain to you how it's done. Like they literally can tell you how it's done. And the church was a great place for these guys that were scammers and illusionists to live. It's just one of those things. Oh my God, really? You're going to bring this out? Holy damn. Miracles. Miracles equal God. Prove that a miracle actually took place. And in order for a miracle to be proven, it can't have an alternative explanation of any other type except that it's a suspension of the natural order. Where do you see this? And I just don't see it. So, for fuck's sake.
You don't. I mean, like how much evidence do you need? And you look at some, at some point you just got to stop and say, look.
A lot more evidence for your Shroud of Turin because it's been examined. And when they examine it, it's a fraud. When they examine any of these relics, they turn out to be frauds. So there's that. Oh, boy.
It's a miracle. We can't explain it. We know there's a God. We know God does amazing things for us. End of story. But
no, it's not the end of the story yet. Those are all a bunch of claims you haven't proven. Try again.
I've noticed that atheists, for the most part, well, I'd say for all part, if they can't explain a miracle, after a while, they're quiet. They walk away.
Right? I don't walk away because I can't explain a miracle. I give an explanation for miracles, and I have to walk away because the continued belief in them just makes me shake my head, and I have to walk away before I throw something. It has nothing to do. It has everything to do with the fact that you will blindly continue to live in a miracle world and yet provide no evidence for it. So it's, so there you go.
And what else are you going to say? Well, it's a miracle. There's no doubt about it. It's like the atheist doctors.
No, it's not a miracle. Okay, we're going to go into atheist doctors, so I got to hear this part.
It's like when there are miraculous cures in hospitals, they're treating a patient. Well, we don't know how to explain it. It's just unexplainable.
Actually, most of the time when they say that, it's because what they really say is it's not explainable at this time. I've seen a lot of these supposed miraculous healings. Later on, people come up with an explanation for them. So it's usually that people that believe accept the miracle story. I was a Pentecostal pastor for 10 years. I was a Pentecostal for 30 years. I saw a lot of quote unquote miracles. Okay. And to be honest, I now look back and see that there's a crap ton of explanations for those miracles that don't have anything to do with the miraculous. Okay. I mean, my one pastor friend said it best. He says, we pray for somebody who has a cold and 3 days later they get better. They claim it's God. Another person has a cold, gets better 3 days later, doesn't get prayed for. God isn't in the picture, but they all got better 3 days later. It's almost like God had nothing to do with it. And there's now studies that say prayer actually can be detrimental in hospitals. So there's that. It puts too much performance pressure on people.
Well, no, for those of us who believe it is explainable. God intervened, by a special grace. He cured someone, helped someone, whatever. But it just being so stubborn, it just drives me nuts. You're so stubborn.
I'm so sorry that happened, Earl. I probably should have instructed the mods to get rid of that guy early because that was just uncalled for. Do some research. Catholic hospitals, because there are certain things they won't do, end up causing a lot of needless suffering and death. And women suffer the most because of the abortion thing. So, yeah, it's. I know that's a hard issue for you, my dear, and I do apologize for that. So, but yeah, I'm. I don't know. I'm sorry that these people think this way. That somehow God's got to be involved in the healing. But as I was saying, I was a Pentecostal who prayed for a lot of people to be healed, and then they would go to the hospital. So what healed them? Was it the hospital's treatment or was it God? It's like, yeah, he I got it. I'll deal with this in a minute here, but yes, so stubborn, really, so stubborn. I, Dude, I could give you tons of reasons why every one of your relics and Shroud of Turin and all the rest of them shouldn't be trusted or believed, but you will stubbornly believe it. I mean, I feel the same way about fundamentalists and very fundamentalist Catholics like yourself. So I don't know. Earl, you have the power. Okay, you have the power. Okay. So there's that. Oh, let's keep going.
It's like, well, we can't explain it. It can't be a miracle. It can't be God. We just, it's just
How about it's more I don't know yet, but we'll look into it? That's probably what actually they're saying.
beyond our human comprehension. We just can't explain it. I mean, come on, get over yourselves and
I don't know. Get over myself? Yeah, right back at you.
just like admit it that there is something bigger than you in the universe that formed everything, creates everything. That there.
No, the universe is bigger than I am. Hell, the planet's bigger than I am. There's a lot of things bigger than I am. That doesn't prove a damn thing. Okay. I'm sorry. I dealt with a lot of these miracles as a Pentecostal too, where people got healed. And once again, later on, there's an alternative explanation. And if you want to prove a miracle, then what you have to have is like a terminal case. Like I would love to see like somebody, there's plenty of people have limbs chopped off. Grow one of those back and document it with a camera. That would be real good proof because then you could see it growing in front of everybody. But that never happens. It's always some internal disease or it's some condition or whatever. Um, I don't know. I don't know where you get that.
There's an intelligence, a genius that is so far beyond you.
No, there isn't
Maybe
an intelligence.
Maybe that's what irritates a lot of people. They just can't stand the fact that there's something smarter than them out there.
I know there's something that's smarter than me. There's a lot of people smarter than me. It doesn't irritate me. It's just a fact of reality. I don't know why you think that this would irritate you, but you know what else is seems to be kind of incredulous is a person who believes that they have the truth and doesn't want to question it. Okay. And doesn't want to hear the actual other side. I mean, you've done this whole thing about atheism so far, and I think we're in point 7 or 8. I don't know where the hell we are. You kind of were unclear about that, but it's like all this time you've been very smug about your beliefs being true. There's nothing more irritating than that. So I don't know. No, I don't know. Oh, yeah. I'm bigger than most, but yeah. There's no proof of the resurrection. It's just hearsay. Okay. Once again, the Gospels don't prove the resurrection. Okay. They just say it happened. They don't prove it. Okay. It's hearsay. Okay. Once again, the Gospels are all hearsay. Okay. They wouldn't hold up in a court of law because of it. Yeah. Prove a resurrection is possible in the first place. We'll wait. Um, so it's that aspect of it. It's You're sitting here yelling at me about being arrogant because I think somebody's smart and it irritates me, but you're sitting there in your belief being very arrogant that you got the truth. Now that I'm out of it, I can't imagine how arrogant and rude I sounded to other people all the time, thinking I had the truth and everybody else was wrong. That if people didn't accept what I said, they were going to hell and stuff like that. It's like, no, that's just arrogant and rude too. There's nothing more arrogant than thinking you have the truth, capital T. That's a very arrogant presuppositional position to have. And people need to realize it.
Maybe just in pride, these people are like, well, I can, science will fix everything. Yeah, no.
I don't believe science will fix everything. So that's another presupposition by the other side, but it's not true for me.
Not really. It's a humility. It's like there's just a lack of humility.
There's also a lack of humility in thinking you have the truth, you have the way, the truth, the life. There's an arrogance in thinking that you have the answer for everybody else, that your faith is the only one that's true and everybody else is false. I mean, I see this with Catholics towards Protestants, Catholics towards Islamic people, Catholics towards Jews. I mean, Catholics, I'm sorry, you guys are living on the block of I think I'm right and everybody else is wrong and a lack of humility. I'm sorry, I haven't dealt with a Catholic yet that this is what I'm asking, Paul. This is what I'm asking.
That there could actually be a super intelligent being that made everything, directs everything, and is still in the lives of every single person.
It could be. Prove that. Don't assert it. Prove it.
Keeping things going like a well-tuned clock. Number 8. They say, the atheists say, there's no evidence for God. It's got to be scientific, got to put it in a test tube. You could walk outside. How much more proof do you need? And that's another thing that kind of irks me, right? It's really stupid that you would walk outside and say, well, there's no proof of God. I heard a guy say years ago, it's like, look.
So literally look at the trees. Is this where you're going? Is this where we're going? Oh, okay.
Science can't produce a blade of grass. And you get down, with all our microscopes and everything, you see,
okay. There's no proof that God created the blade of grass either. It seems to have grown all by itself. Like like when I see a person build something, I see them building it. And when I see a blade of grass come out of the ground, it kind of does it all by itself. Your assertion that God is doing that, you don't have any evidence for that. Okay. Come on. Do better.
Atoms and all these cool things at the microscopic level. It's like, well, who can create that? Can man go to a lab and say, we're going to make an atom today? And again, they talk about, we
don't make atoms, but we sure use them to make a hell of a lot of compounds. Okay. Chemistry is really a great thing. I love real chemistry. It's a lot of fun, but yeah, I don't know, but we're literally heading into look at the trees. And this is an argument just for reference to everybody out there listening to the stream or watching it later. Look at the trees is the design argument, the watchmaker argument, whatever the hell you want to call it, has been so debunked by many people, even many Christian apologists. I don't see using it anymore because they know it's a crappy argument. And as Christopher Hitchens so elegantly put it, even if you prove a designer, you still have all your work ahead of you in proving that your God is the designer. So here we go.
It's always having something to create something, if that makes any sense, right? Humans can't do anything. They have to start with something, okay? Let's say you want to make a chair.
And so does the blade of grass, and so does the tree, and so does just everything else in nature. Starts with something. What's your point?
Chair, right? You have to get the wood to make the chair. So you finish this chair, you roll it out, and like, ta-da, look what I made. Like, where'd you get everything? It just came out of nowhere. It was nothing. It's like, wood had to be created. Wood is there. Wood was.
Okay. First of all, I don't know anybody who would make that kind of statement that wasn't like we would consider them Looney Tunes. This seems to be so straw manish at this point. It's like, this is not the way it works. Norwegian wood. Okay, the wood jokes have started. Holy wood. Who creates wood? Uh, I don't know. I'm waiting for the other wood jokes to come out. It's going to happen, but so uh,
Created by something greater than you. I think that's the bottom line. Forget, maybe we shouldn't even have 10 of these. I would just say, you know what? I think it's the bottom.
if this is the bottom line argument, and for you, if look at the trees is the bottom line argument, I'm going to laugh at you as hard, almost as hard as I laughed at Charlie Kirk saying that the Liberty Bell is proof that the early nation was Christian, because I'm going to laugh at that later. I did that in my other live stream where I reacted to a video. I laughed at him pretty hard because of that statement, because, you know, as Grumpy Librarian pointed out, the Liberty Bell was commissioned by Frenchmen in 1751, founded in England, and then sent to the colonies. And so the reason it had Leviticus with the Liberty quote on the side of it is because the French people wanted it on there. It had nothing to do with the founding of the country. And now you're making as silly an argument with the design argument, the watchmaker argument that I can possibly think of. And you want to say that that's the bottom line? Oh, come on, dude.
Line is that people just in their pride don't want to believe there's something greater than them. Oh boy.
And Catholics in their pride don't want to believe that they're wrong either. I've experienced that way too much too. Everybody, you know, you could sit there and talk about pride all day long, and that's just an ad hominem. You know, you're not really proving anything. So there we go.
Wait.
Oh, wait a minute. Morningwood. Okay, I knew it was coming. Morningwood. Oh, yeah, you guys. All right. All right, here we go.
Anyway, okay, so number 9. If you don't believe in God, then you have no purpose. And if you have no purpose, what's the point? Did you get all that?
Well, stop. Why does there have to be an ultimate point to have a point? Is always the question I want to ask here. Why is it so important to have this universal, forever, long-lasting time? It's almost like it's a wishful thinking desire that's more important than the reality that I can have points and purpose here in life. So I don't understand this incessant need to have this ultimate purpose either. Okay. I mean, as far as what's the point for me, I have a lot of points. I have a lot of purposes for my life without, you know, you're sitting there assuming that if I don't have God, you know, there's no point. Yes, Fred, I did. And here it goes, flaming hot wood. Yes. Thank you, Earl, for being the counter to all this. But I'm sorry, dude. Why can't you see that you already have a purpose that probably doesn't have a lot to do with your God that you do every day? And if you took God out of it, it wouldn't change it. Okay. There's plenty of points to be had in life, plenty of meaning to be found in life without flipping God. Okay. I don't know.
Yeah, it twisted my mind too. But for us, is again, specifically Catholics, right? What is our purpose? To know, love, and serve the Lord in this life so that we're happy with Him forever in the next. That's our purpose. We get up.
Okay. That's your purpose. Okay. What if there is no Lord? What if there is no God? Then you have a purpose that's absolutely meaningless. Okay. You don't have a meaningful purpose at that point. The beauty of being an atheist and not having a God assumption is I can adjust my purpose as I go. Okay. You know, because things change, life changes, but assumption God exists, assumption an afterlife exists, assumption that this God is you have the right God and the right commandments and loving Him will do all that. All assumptions. I you know, you're sitting there saying these are good reasons to not be an atheist, but your good reasons seem to be one assumption after another about your faith being true. and you haven't demonstrated that. Okay. It seems like you should demonstrate your faith is true before you accept it as your purpose. Um,
Every morning to follow God's will, to love Him the best we can with all of our being, to learn about Him, to know Him.
Once again, loving with all your being, what does that mean? And to know everything about Him. Uh, don't you guys postulate that God is so big you can't really know everything about Him? I mean, this is the one problem I had with theology was the postulate that God is beyond human understanding, and then a bunch of humans trying to understand Him. As somebody who's been, I don't. I don't get it. I don't get it. And yeah, dude, that purpose is built on so many assumptions. I don't build my purposes on assumptions. I just don't do that anymore. Yeah, and that's the problem because it isn't evidence. It's just blind belief. Okay, you can define it that way all you want, but it doesn't prove that faith is evidence. Yeah, I would say that faith is a replacement for evidence, and it's not a good one. So, yes, it's believing something without evidence. It's not evidence itself. Okay, I'm not even sure the Bible defines it that way. Well, it does, but I disagree with the definition.
And that's our purpose. What's the purpose for an atheist? If you don't live for that,
whatever I want it to be. Okay, whatever I want it to be. I don't need Big Daddy to tell me what my purpose is. I can discover that. And that's part of the joy of life as an atheist is discovering your purpose and discovering who you are and what you're good at, and not living in this fantasy land, but living in the real reality and trying to find a good purpose has been one of the great challenges and one of the great things to me of being an atheist is I don't have to assume the God stuff to find it. And having discovered my purpose without God, I can realize that argument you just made is nonsense.
purpose of God, I mean, seriously, what to do well in your job, to get a raise?
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with those things? I could add, be a loving spouse, be a loving parent, doing good for society. There's a whole list of good things that somebody could be without God being assumed. So, I mean, it's like just because you can't see it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Okay, once again, your incredulity. It's like you can't understand something, so you think it's stupid. Okay, well, that doesn't necessarily. So it's that. Yeah, thanks, Filbert. This is one of my favorite quotes about faith, actually. Yeah, you kneel for no man. Okay, nice to know. Future reference. And Paul does the opposite. He kneels for a woman. So there we go. There we go. Both sides of it. But yeah, dude, you just listed a few things. Okay, but are you going to list more?
I don't know. What's your purpose? That's got to be tough. And I'm not.
No, it's not, because finding what the will of God is so flipping nebulous. That's tougher. Okay, I know people who have dedicated their life to trying to find the will of God for themselves, and they never seem to come to the end of it. And it's always changing and morphing and evolving, just like anybody else's. It's almost like God doesn't do them any good in finding their purpose because it seems to be as varied and whatever as the rest of regular life. I don't get why you think that this is a superior thing, because I've watched people search for the will of God all their life and never find it. So I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. Very learn, often very annoying. Yes. So, yes. Oh, I just don't know.
Trying to be mean on that one. I would sincerely like to know how do you find purpose in life if you don't believe in God?
I don't know. I kind of look for it and I usually find it. just like everybody else. I think that the whole thing with like purpose with God is people find their own purpose and then they want to justify it by saying this is what God's will is for me. And it's a post hoc rationalization throwing God in there. They really just find out what's best for them and they go forward and do it. And then they give God credit afterwards. It's really kind of the way God led me into this purpose kind of thing, but it's always a post hoc rationalization for themselves. And so, I think everybody finds their purpose the same way, that some of you just give credit to God when really it's just you. So there's that.
If you have nothing really to shoot for or aim for, everything's temporary. So, and there's a lot of people out there.
And it's this temporary nature that makes life more precious to me than it ever was as a theist. Okay, because if this is all I get, I want this to be the best life possible. Okay, I don't want to be. I don't get it. What I don't get with you, dude, is how you can't. One of the things that this whole thing has indicated to me, and you're only in reason 9, I don't know what reason 10 is anymore. But up to 9 so far, my issue has been you don't really know what atheism is because you haven't really talked to any atheists. You have this concept in your mind of what atheism is, and you're attacking that. This whole thing so far, I would put a big straw man that you created and you're punching that. And that's what you're doing. But you've never really talked to any atheists. And this purpose question just kind of highlights this. Because I imagine if you asked 1,000 atheists how they discovered their purpose, they'd give you 1,000 different answers. And you know what? That's the same as every theist who would ask the same question, only they would add, and God led me to this. That's the only difference. Okay. It's like, yeah, I don't get it either. Okay. I don't get it either. It's like, this guy's whole basis for not wanting to be an atheist seems to be, I don't understand what atheism is, and so therefore it can't be true. And he doesn't really seem to want to find out what atheism is. He just, he said at the beginning of the video, he's just feeling mischievous and he wants to do something, but he doesn't. He doesn't seem to get the fact that maybe atheism is something different than what he thinks it is. And so he doesn't want to accept that. It's like he's believing every apologist trope about what atheism is, and he's not bothering to find out what it really is. He's just attacking it. I'm going to be a Catholic. I'm going to be a crappy Catholic because that's better than being an atheist. But the atheism I'm attacking isn't really atheism. And he's done that through this whole video. So,
well, I don't know how many, maybe a lot, especially these really uber rich people who don't believe in God. It's like, okay, so you have all this stuff. Okay, now what? What's the point? What's the purpose? So chew on that one for a while.
I have chewed on that one for a while, and I don't think God makes it any better. If anything, it makes it worse because, if it doesn't work out, then obviously the problem was you didn't discern what God's purpose was. And so you missed God's purpose. So you're in the wrong because that's always the out for the person who has God as their purpose. When I fuck up, I just have to say it's a fuck up. Okay. I mean, when I mess up, I miss it, it's all on me. And I think the real reason that people love this God is your purpose thing is they get to kind of backdoor blame God if it doesn't work, or, well, I just wasn't hearing right. Like they can blame themselves or they can blame God for not finding their purpose. Yeah. I don't get it. I just don't get it. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think so. I don't, it's a non-atheism, atheism. Like they define it themselves and then they attack that. I've never really seen them do a good job at defining atheism. I've been doing this channel I'll be celebrating 5 years next week. I'm doing a 5-week celebration stream next week, but I still have yet to find too many apologists that define atheism correctly, and they get away with it because nobody ever bothers to check on it. So I don't know. I honestly don't know how many subs he has. I mean, you can look it up. It's a crappy Catholic channel, and you can look up how many subs he has. Uh, yeah, I think he is an atheist, as I recall. He doesn't really have a belief in God. It's a nonsensical quote. Being an atheist is simply like realizing that there's nobody on the other side of the chessboard, and you're just basically you're doing like the one guy does in the one short where he animated short where he gets up, goes to the other side, and plays the other side. But you're calling the one other side God when it's really you. Okay, you're just talking to yourself. Okay, uh, so there's that aspect. But yeah, it's there's this animated short where this old guy is playing chess with himself basically, and has two different characters. That's what playing chess with God is really, is you're playing with your alter ego. So that's my view on it when it comes to the chess playing argument.
My last one, point number 10. Let's see, I wrote it down. Number 10, everything in your world was created by intelligent beings, but not the earth and the universe. Okay, so.
Okay, I want to stop right there based on what he just wrote and what he said. Everything in my world is not created by intelligent beings. Okay, and there's a lot of stuff that isn't created by intelligent beings. It's just there. um, so I don't already like, it's like you're assuming what an atheist would say, and that's not what I would say. That's not the way I would define it. So I don't. I don't know. It's problematic. I guess I want to hear his explanation because maybe it'll make it worse or better, but we'll see.
You wake up and nowadays you got your iPhone or your smartphone and something intelligent had to create that, right? It didn't just come out of nowhere. I love the story, and it's
and not only that, I can demonstrate that my iPhone was created by actually going to the factory where it's built, looking up the design specifications that are filed away somewhere. I can even find the name of the design team that made it and all the various designers that built it. I can go to the mines where all the stuff is taken from. I can go to the plastic factory where that's made, and then I can see how it's assembled together. I can actually document and do all that stuff with anything that's like that. You know what I can't do that for? A tree or a blade of grass or a rock. Okay, I can't do that for any of that because there is none of that. There's no evidence for that. There's a difference between having evidence that something is built and made, and we know that, and then we have other things in our universe that don't have those same qualities. They don't have a designer listed. They don't have plans. They don't have materials that are brought together. There's a difference. Okay. And it's funny with the design argument, how they want nature to be undesigned to compare it to the design thing like the watch, but then they want to flip it to being a design thing. So if everything's designed, what's the distinction? You can't even make the distinction at that point. Yeah. It was, unfortunately, I'm not sure it was created by a being. It was created by a being. I'm not sure he's very intelligent, but yeah, I agree with that part.
It's got a lot of different permutations, but it's the story of an atheist who walks into a clock shop.
Oh my God.
The watchmaker.
Son of a bitch, he's going to actually do the clockmaker argument. Did we already do this, though? Didn't he already do the design argument? So this is really him, like a lot of these people do. They do the same argument, put it differently, and say it's a different reason, but it's actually the same thing. So here we go.
Shows him this beautiful watch, and the atheist says, "Oh my gosh, that's a beautiful watch." He said, "Who made it?" And the watchmaker's like, "Well, no one made it. It just showed up." It's like, come on, serious. Things don't just pop up out of nowhere. Who made this? What expert person made this? I want to thank him or her. And again, the watchmaker has said, well, nobody. It just came out of nowhere. You'd think the watchmaker was a loon, right? When you're.
Yes, but that's because I've seen watches made and I've seen them designed and there's specs on them and all that stuff. I've never seen that happen with other things in nature. Okay, there's a lot of things just are, Okay. And they are there. Doesn't make them designed. And once again, this watchmaker analogy is just really bad because if everything's designed, there is no distinction in what's designed and what's not. You're assuming an undesigned distinction, but you want to say everything's designed, and that's its flaw.
iPhone is made, or your smartphone, right? It comes from some factory. Someone designed it. You can go up all the way up the chain, right? To the design and the brainstorming, to think about how a thing comes together, because humans are intelligent beings. Well,
I don't vote. I didn't vote this time. I had a moral objection to pretty much, being part of a system that forces me down two directions. So, but it depends on the issue. I'm a libertarian, so I don't necessarily always vote left. I'm much more conservative on economic matters and other social issues, and I tend to be a little patriotic about my country because I don't think my country is complete shit. So, um, the left kind of indicates that if it wasn't for them, the country would be complete crap. But the right does that too. So, but no, but yeah, here we are,
awesome.
watchmaker argument.
But you take it for granted. It's like, well, yeah, of course, someone designed it, made it, created it. I understand that.
I'm so sorry, Earl. Yeah, this guy, I saw Skeptic do this, and I now can see that Skeptic kind of edited some stuff out so he could make a shorter video because this is 19 minutes long, and the stuff he left in it would have made it worse. But yeah, next time we watch one of these guys, we'll probably have to get oven mitts for our faces, and so we don't hurt our faces with the face palming. So there's that. But here we go.
And yet, when you look around in the world, you see the stars in the heavens, a lunar eclipse, you see plants grow.
All with very naturalistic explanations that we have explained, and obviously you haven't bothered to look up.
Oh, and you see all this wonderful stuff, right? How God paints the sky for us every day, and every day you wake up and there's some
God, do you believe? I bet you don't believe that Apollo gets in his chariot in the morning and rides the sun across the sky every day, do you, dude? That's exactly the same kind of argument you just made with God painting the sky. Prove agency, and you haven't done that.
Everything is different. One day it's cloudy, one day it's sunny, one day it's hot, one day it's cold. And you ask the person, like, well, where did all this come from? And for us, it's easy. It's like, well, God created all this. God puts everything in order. God makes it all happen.
It's easy because it's a non-answer and it's unfalsifiable. Okay, that's what makes your arguments weak. A good argument can give itself a test of falsifiability, and the problem with most theist arguments is there's no falsifiability. If you want to make your argument stronger, give yourself a test of falsifiability. And once again, prove agency in all this. You're assuming agency without proving it.
Dude, he's awesome. Right? And what does an atheist say? I don't know, because I've never been in that position, but what is
Michael, welcome. Yeah, I think we're kind of concluding that his reasons not to be an atheist don't really involve a lot of thought. Okay. So yeah, it's kind of kindergarten apologetics. Yeah, I don't know. So
what does an atheist say when he or she looks out at the world, the created world that God created, not all the man-made stuff, but just the creation of God? When you go up on a mountain or a hill and you look out and it just takes your breath away at the beauty of it. And we're supposed to believe it came from nothing, it came from nowhere. There was no intelligent being that had anything to do with that. It just happened. Come on. I mean, that's just like insulting to intelligence when you really get down to it.
Okay, first of all, I really hate this dichotomy because I get accused all the time of having a hard, if I'm an atheist and just believe the world is, then I must be a hard determinist, which I'm not. I'm a soft determinist. But at the same time, you want to sit there and turn around and say that this just happened. Which is it? Okay. He brings this up because on the one hand, I get this accusation, it's just random, it just happened. But if I believe in the natural world and the natural world is ruled by, natural laws and all that crap, that people want to put in there and all that stuff, that's fine. We can have the argument about determinism all we want. But if I believe in a deterministic universe, then it didn't just happen. You have to pick one or the other. Either you have to be like this guy and say it just happened, or you have to drop that part of it. It's not a random chance thing. Okay. Yeah. This is the point. Natural laws aren't chance. Okay. And none of us are saying that, once again, misdefining what a lot of atheists believe, because they don't believe in chance. Okay. Necessarily. So I don't know. It didn't, you're speaking for the atheist and you're not making sounds that make sense at this point.
You're trying to get us to believe that all this beauty, all this incredible stuff was not created by anything or anyone. It just happened. It was evolution. It just came from nothing. It's ridiculous. So,
okay. First of all, no evolutionist believes it came from nothing. No Big Bang cosmologist believes from nothing. The original Big Bang theory was proposed by a Catholic, which apparently he doesn't know. I don't know. And apparently, yes, apparently we're all communists. Um, so I like this one. Rimmer did it. It's kind of like inspiring philosophy, more natural, less eloquent. So there's that, I suppose. But yeah.
I'm not doing this recording to offend anybody. At the same time,
Too late. You already offended a whole bunch of people. Okay.
A lot of this is forced down our throat. We're living in a world where God.
Yes, just like Catholics force indoctrination down their throat, like every Protestant denomination I know forces indoctrination down their children's throat. I mean, I'm sorry, religion is full of people pushing things down people's throat. So I don't get this part of it. It's a lack of self-awareness.
God is pushed out, and the atheists are in charge.
Okay, for all of you that had to endure this video from the beginning, the medals are in the mail. Trust me. Just trust me on that. So let's finish him off. He's almost done.
In many places. And what have they brought to the world? Have they brought beauty? Most time they bring, death and misery, people living in poverty. If you go back to the Soviet...
just like the Catholic Church has done for literally millennia, 2 millennia so far, misery, death, bad medical care, been involved in politics, the Spanish Inquisition. Can I go on and on and on? Molesting children. If I look at if you're going to sit there and you're going to yell at atheism, we caused all this harm. One, you better prove that it's because of atheism that harm. When I look at communism, it's more like a state religion. The state is the religion ideology, which is a bad thing. And then you really want to compare that to what the Catholic Church has done for 2 millennia? Come on, man. It's like you're overlooking the crimes of your own and attacking somebody else at that point. That just pisses me off. It's like you got your own problems. Maybe you should take Jesus's advice and take the 2x4 out of your own eye before you start looking at the speck in somebody else's, because the Catholic Church definitely has a few 2x4s in its face. So, you might be a little bit more self-aware when you say something like that.
This is why I think it's hilarious when people, especially the young people today, is like, oh, let's bring in socialism and communism. There isn't a place where that has been tried that it hasn't failed.
Okay, first of all, atheism, once again, still doesn't have a damn thing to do with communism. That's a Red Scare tactic, propaganda. They should call you and ask for the argument back. They really should. The 50s and the Red Scare should call you and get that. I mean, that whole bullshit propaganda, godless communist is just bullshit. It was never true, and it still isn't true.
Miserably, where the people aren't miserable. In fact, recently, I think in Cuba, there was a total power outage for the whole island. But do you think the people who are in charge, do they experience?
He's actually in Cuba. Okay, I didn't think he would go for this. My dude, I think 75% of the Catholics represent 75% of the island of Cuba. It's not godless. Okay, and many of them support the communist regime. The idea that you don't know that Roman Catholicism and communism go hand in hand many places in the world, and you're oblivious to this, is just fucking amazing to me. that you're so clueless that this is the case. You're using Cuba, a country that is 75% still religious and mostly Catholic.
That are they short on food? Are they living in huts somewhere? Are they?
I don't know. You built St. Peter's Cathedral on the backs of a lot of poor people too. I've gone to tons of, when I was in Romania, I go to these villages with nothing. Like the people had nothing, but there'd be a nice church in the middle of it. I'm sorry, my dude. If I look at the history of the Roman Catholic Church, it's exploiting people so the priestly class and the ruling class can live pretty high in the hog. Look at the entire medieval period in Europe. Come on, man. Come on.
Trying to eke out a living? Of course not. That's why I just don't understand it. What good does atheism bring to the world? It doesn't. So that's my wrap up for Friday. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, let me know.
As an atheist, I did not enjoy this because these were all really bad reasons not to be an atheist, unless it's the straw man atheist that you've built. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to be that straw man atheist, but the fact of the matter is every reason you gave was not really connected to atheism at all. There's a lot of straw manning in this. You apparently don't know that the Big Bang Theory was proposed by a Catholic. You don't apparently know that Roman Catholicism and communism are connected in many countries of the world, where a vast majority of that country is still Roman Catholic, and the Roman Catholic Church still has priests in those countries, and they are still allowed to do their thing while all the time having a communist economic system. You don't seem to be aware of that. And it's your lack of awareness on all of this stuff that really bothers me the most. It's like, when you sit there and talk about how atheism has done so much harm, and at the same time want to be a Roman Catholic, I would have to ask a question. Are you that lacking in self-awareness to realize that the Roman Catholic Church hasn't done a massive amount of harm itself? I mean, yeah, it's I am so sorry. Oh, yeah, I didn't. I'm not saying I enjoyed this, but the real problem I have with guys like this, Earl, is they're everywhere. They're everywhere. And it amazes me because they continue to misrepresent atheism, and I don't think they've talked to an atheist in their life. They continue to misrepresent deconversion, and they haven't talked to a deconverted person in their life. Okay, but they just accept what their apologists are saying, they accept what the church is saying, and then they want to say, I'm blind. Um, you know, no, no, no. I don't know. Did I lose any subs? I don't know. I I'm sorry if I lost any subs. The purpose of this live stream was the fact that I'm going to take this and I'm going to make a more official reaction, but I'm going to shorten it down probably and get rid of all his waffling. Although putting my waffle me in my reaction videos is a lot of fun from time to time, and I may leave it in some places just to do this, but I kind of feel like I got the reaction from the atheist community here tonight that I expected, because this is so dumb. It's dumb reasons not to be an atheist. And he says this is the reason why I ain't going to be no atheist in his title. And then right away he says, this is why I think atheism is stupid. Okay, so he immediately shifts it to an ad hominem right away. And then he completely misrepresents atheism through all 10 of his reasons. Okay, it's just like he doesn't deal with it. Okay, he doesn't actually deal with it. Sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. List, French wars, Human Crusades, 30 years war, Spanish Inquisition. Pray for the Catholic Church. Yes. I mean, if you're going to sit there and yell at atheism, you might want to get that 2x4 out of your own eye. Just follow Jesus's own advice. Get the 2x4 out of your own eye, and then you can see clearly to see the specks in others. But this is a Roman Catholic with a complete lack of awareness about where his Roman Catholicism is. Like, it's in communist countries. Roman Catholicism and communists get along better than atheists do, because atheists will like argue about communism. The Roman Catholic Church will, bend over to whatever ideology exists in a country to stay in that country and have an influence. So that's why I've always said it. Religion is a prostitute. It will hang with anybody that gives it power. And the Catholic Church is a pretty good example of that. So, yeah, but I think that's the end of his video, for which I think we're all grateful. But I had only watched that a little bit and saw some of it. And I said, "Oh, I gotta do this." And I saw a skeptic do it, watched his video, and I'm like, "There's so much more that could be said." Though I don't know. But yeah, that's it for this one. I know some of you didn't. This hurt your head. I do apologize for that, but I think we need to realize that there's a lot of this still out there. So for those of you that run atheist channels and do atheist stuff, keep it up, because this is what we're up against. Okay. And the problem I have with this is that a lot of people believe this. A lot of people follow this. A lot of people think this way. And we need to have people, countering it. But yeah, I'm probably will turn this into a more formal short reaction video at the end of next week. But so there's that. There's that. Yes, but North Korea has its own religion. It's called the worship of its leader and its dead leader. So it still has a religion. But that's it for tonight. I got to, I don't know what else to say at this point. I think this guy speaks for himself on how stupid his reasons was. It was just really bad. I just wish there were better Catholics out there, but we have to settle for the crappy one. But I'm going to sign off. Thanks everybody for stopping by. Hit the like button, do all the things, appreciate all of you being here tonight. Definitely does my heart good to see all of you. Sorry I had to put you through all that. I know some of you it hurt your head and things like that. Hopefully you'll get better tomorrow. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate everybody. As always, live your best life. You only get one go around and then it's over. So make sure you're giving all your time, money, and energy to people you love and care for, to yourself, and to make this a better world. You'll be happier if you do. And as always, thanks for stopping by, and I will catch you next time.